Hello everyone, I am Nurul Aina from Group 7. So today we are going to present about mute group theory along with my group members Muhammad Daniel, Muhammad Khairul Azrael and Nur Fatihah Chin. So I will explain briefly about mute group theory. Mute group theory was introduced by Edwin and Shirley Ardiner, British social anthropologists in 1975. According to Barkman 2018, mute group theory is a sociological tool that helps in the study of interactions between dominant and subdominant groups, including men and women. The theory was first mentioned in a short essay, Belief and the Problem of Women by Ardiner, the founder of this theory. The proposers of the mute group theory state that mute groups belong to society whose practically has no power and who have difficulty in communicating, including voice out their opinions on issues in the society due to their lack of power in participating in the making of the language they use. The mute group theory consists feminist and critical theoretical approach in the field of anthropology, sociology, and communication studies, in other words, a critical feminist theory. So my friends will explain more about mute group theory. Mute group theory.
The definition of muted group theory. Muted group theory attempts to understand the strategies of social inclusion and contact of those in communities such as women and other minorities who are not dominant, in order to interact with the dominant group and prevent being held back. It describes how a dominant group dominates the language. Edwin Ardiner, who argued that many ethnographers claim to understand a culture, but only based on knowledge from the male population, came up with the definition of muted group theory itself. The researcher then used this knowledge to reflect the entire society, leaving out the views of women, children, and numerous other non-dominant groups made voiceless by the social hierarchy. The theory of the muted group identified the cause of muteness, especially that of women in society, by a certain group of people. Women live with the mentality that when expressed, their views stay subdued and must choose to conform the situation. The male attitude that are the winner of the bread are considered dominant than the women who depend on them. The ancient tradition created a whole new division of power in society. Okay, the purpose of the use of muted group theory is to understand how certain among all side groups are being held down. The theory indicates that in both the Republican and the Democratic parties, the dominant function within the party may be created a vocabulary that focus on its own perceived reality about what issues are relevant and what values or philosophy in the party are inferior. In order to explain the issue of marginalized group, the mute group theory can be applied. Okay, for example, in the mass media, women being stereotyped can be seen and transformed into mainstream culture. In most of the commercial of the male goods, the women are represented as a sex symbol. Male views of women have been narrowed down to either sexual or emotional symbol. Okay, the founder of muted group theory is Edwin Ardiner and Shirley Ardiner. Edwin Ardiner was a British scholar and social anthropologist in anthropology, and his 1975 work in which he identified women as a muted in social discourse. Some of his most significant contributions were to the study of gender. He based his ethnographic research on Africa, especially on Cameroon. His 19th century book of the Backwary of Cameroon is seen as authoritative. In Preserving Women, a volume edited by his wife and fellow anthropologist Shirley Ardiner, one of his most famous contributions to anthropology came in the 1975 essay, The Issue Revisited. In Anthropological Methodological, he found a problematic He found a problematic for propensity to speak only to women, thereby missing at least half the sample of people they were expect to observe. Okay, next, Shirley J. Ardiner is a pioneer in women research and a dedicated anthropological researcher since the 1950, originally with her husband Edwin Ardiner. Her work as an editor has been several key texts written, such as Preserving Woman, 1975, her essay Sexual Insult and Female Militancy, a fundamental text showing how to make the personal profoundly political also part of the series. She helped found and has been founding director of the Queen Elizabeth House, Oxford Centre of Cross-Cultural Research on Women, CCRW, since 1973, formerly since 1980. The CCRW, based at the Lady Margaret Hall, Oxford, has now become the International Gender Study Centre.
So next, we will get into the development of muted group theory. Muted group theory was firstly developed in the field of cultural anthropology by the British anthropologist Edwin Ardiner. He explained that although half of the population in society is technically made up of women, ethnographers have often ignored this half of the population. Ardiner wrote that those trained in ethnography evidently have a bias towards the kinds of model that men are ready to provide or to conquer in, rather than towards any woman that might provide. After conducting an experiment with the information in his essay, the results indicated that the male point of view is the dominant point of view in society, which is why it is depicted with a standard solid line in this graph. On the other hand, the female point of view is considered as non-dominant and non-standard, so it falls into the muted category with the broken line. And according to Ardiner, because male-based understandings of society represent the dominant worldview, certain groups are silenced or muted. He then wrote that, in these terms, if the male perception yields a dominant structure, the female one is a muted structure. As part of the critical approach to the world, Ardiner uses MGT to explore the power and societal structure in relation to the dynamism between dominant and subordinate groups. Moreover, Ardiner's concept of muted group does not apply to women, but can also be applied to other non-dominant groups within social structures. This theory was then expanded by Cherish Cremery, which her research was more focused on the gender culture, compared to the Ardiners that were applying MGT across different cultures. What she has discovered is that male dominance affects more than just the way sexes speak, but the content and structure of the English language. Women are often defined by their relation to men, like Miss and Mrs., while men have more autonomous, varied linguistic status. Thus, Cremery attributed to the series of phenomena to conception man-made language, and pointed out that women will be a muted group. Based on Cremery's work, scholars Anita Taylor and M.J. Hartman observed that there is no concept that important to women recognized in English naming rules. The language also devalues concept that is important to women but not to men. Representation of man-made language can be found in our daily life. For instance, women and men that are the same social rank are usually addressed by asymmetrical usage of first and last name, or associations of certain words with women are formed to maintain the social stereotype, like sewing, cooking, and doing house chores. According to Cremery, muted group theory makes three assumptions. The first one is men and women perceive the world differently because they have different perceptions that shape their experiences. Those different experiences are a result of men and women performing different tasks in the society. The second assumption is women find it difficult to articulate their ideas as men's experiences are dominant, which means men enact their power politically, perpetuating their power and suppressing women's ideas and meanings from gaining public acceptance. And the final assumption is women have to go through a translation process when speaking in order to participate in social life, meaning that women must convert their unique ideas, experiences, and meanings into male language in order to be heard.
Hi, I'm going to explain about the roles of muted group theory in healthcare. Muted group theory is playing the big role to give awareness about the appearance of minority group as they are contributing a bigger picture on some matter. For example, like women and heart attack symptoms. As we know, heart attack symptoms including chest pain, chest discomfort, and shortness of breath. However, women face more than these symptoms. Because of less research on heart attack symptoms on women, it caused high number cases of misdiagnosed after heart attack among women. Next, this theory explains the relationship between communication and power as they are giving effect on the dominant and subdominant group. When people know about mutual group theory, they will be more aware when communicating, especially when the dominant group try to talk with the subdominant group. For example, like medical residents with more experience and power tend to underestimate the new medical resident point of view and suggestion. This is when they are not aware about muted group theory. Thus, this example show that categorize others based on gender, age, or experience may result in accurate information about the people we categorize. Yet, in medical field, it can cause negative results to the surrounding, especially to the patient. And then, an exposure on this theory can reframe the interpretation of minority group in the society, and it can help to lower the discrimination issues related to them. For instance, racial inequality issues in the healthcare system that can lead to neglect, disbelief, and discrimination. According to RIS 2020, in 2014, around 20% of black adults could not access health insurance compared to 10% in white and Asian adults.
As for conclusion, the mute group theory is essential and important in a society, especially in healthcare. This has raised the issues regarding the female culture, which is how they form through their experience, considering their experience completely different from males. They form different norms, and because of the norm of society is male norms, female does not fit in. However, they must earn the respect of men by acquire acceptance into their dominant group to blend in the society norm. Same goes to healthcare. Okay, we hope that this situation can be achieved through the technology, which is this revolutionize existed culture from a dominant and mute group into a large group without gender regulation. That's all from us. Thank you.